you know, tonight it's Ma's Who Pot Spaghetti. So, you know, Mom Spaghetti, close enough, right? Cheers, everybody, and welcome to episode 245. I'm dyslexic of the Michigan Bros Grow Show. We are your hosts, Frigoli, Red and Becca from Rosemary's Oasis, aka Red Setter Farms, and Russ, aka Spartan Grow. And welcome back. How are you guys doing tonight?
Cheers, guys. I don't know if you haven't done that math. I don't feel like doing great math in public, but 245, that's somewhere in the range of about a bro show live a week. Very close to 5 years. Are we coming up close to some 5-year anniversary? Holy
well,
crap.
260 is technically 5 years worth of weeks, so we're definitely getting there. I guess come mid-July.
So
yeah, for
definitely,
sure.
We've definitely fucking been the 5 years work for sure. I'd say that's fucking cool.
That's pretty cool. I know
really
the
is.
channel has been a 5-year channel. The interviews, the podcast with Sequence and Scobo started more than 5 years ago. And Spartan, your interview might even be more than 5 years ago. Mine was in the August range. My interview will be 5 years in August, and so on and so on. The live show I think started sometime in July. So in about a next month. But holy crap, guys, that's wild.
That's cool because I think Sequence's birthday's in July too.
Yeah, Scobo and Sequence both pop off there in early July, end of June.
Oh, it was 4 years ago. It says I'm not quite at 5 yet. I was number 3.
Is it 4 years ago? I thought it was 2019 because we went into 2020 all together. We were all chitting and chatting during the 2020.
Right there, August 5th of 2019.
Maybe that's one of those Mandela effects, or
that's coming up on 5.
What's that? Wormholes? Oh, Frigoli's volume's in a wormhole right now.
Yeah.
I'm over here explaining it all, and no one's understanding. It's because you can't hear me. Yeah, it'll be 5 years come August, it looks like, of this year. So we're only about 2 months out from a 5-year anniversary. And while we're on the topic, I will just say today I am celebrating my official 10-year anniversary on YouTube.
Wow, congratulations, man.
Hey.
Thanks, man. Let's see if I can pull up a video to prove it.
Really?
All right, so this looks like my oldest video here. At least the oldest one that's still on YouTube. Let's pull it up. Let's see. Yep, June 2nd, 2014. There you guys go. 10 years today.
Whoa.
Well, tomorrow, I guess. But no, it is today. It is today. Sweet.
Yeah, that's today. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, congratulations, man. You're 10 years old.
I'm finally double digits, guys. I did it. Look at those Jiffy Pete pellets. Oh, my goodness.
I definitely didn't have a YouTube account where I could comment. I was only like lurking in YouTube back in 10 years ago days.
We've all got to start.
Your series on BHO extraction was pretty popular. Well, you don't even have it all up anymore, but you used to have them all in a row.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure YouTube has taken down a few of those videos, but we can. I mean, if you just go to the Instagram, the youtube.com/Frigoli page, I think that should pull it up. And you scroll down a little bit past the intro, past a couple of these playlists, you get the Frigoli's 1 pound passive closed loop system demo. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I feel like there's maybe a video missing, but yeah, I mean, plenty of knowledge to consume here, averaging maybe 30, 40,000 views per video. And if you haven't processed, with a closed loop system or hydrocarbons, it's definitely a good primer. If you have, it's also probably a good, kind of just fill in the blanks maybe. But yeah, just a basic education for those looking for it.
You would have loved the talk for Girlie. I thought about you in Toronto. Marcus, the BC Bubble Man, was giving a talk, and it was the overall theme was something to the effect of the different types of concentrates for bud tenders, or something to that effect. and they got on the subject of solventless and not solventless. And Marcus says, well, what do you mean by solventless? You understand that water is the universal solvent, right? And they're like, well, we mean like no hydrocarbons. And he goes, what do you have against hydrocarbons? Do you not know that the terpenes in the plant are hydrocarbons? That's the very thing we're growing. Oh, shit.
Yep. I mean, he's not wrong. You know, it's just like, I don't know. People are going to be stingy about things for probably reasons they don't understand. Is the common theme it seems to be with hydrocarbons. You know, I don't know. Like, you guys know, there can be absolutely be quality in both sides if there are only two sides. You know, in the both sides of the extracts. I just think, and I think science have proven that there can be a wider range in hydrocarbons, and that's about the only difference. You know, it's up to the grower and the processor at that point to produce some fire. So to harp on the process themselves or to discriminate so much on one process because of a particular way it's done might not be correct. Well, guess what? You can do that across any method, and it starts with the growing. So if you got people growing what seems to be fire, but maybe has been used with pesticides, or maybe has been, you know, treated poorly in one way or another, in which I wouldn't personally smoke it. Well, then guess what? It doesn't matter what process you use. You got garbage. So I don't know. That's just my rant. Back to my spaghetti.
Well, Red,
isn't
back
there a law of minimums, or what is it, like the law of your weakest link? I mean, you're only as good as your weakest link. You know, if you know, you could have a view that your method of whatever might be pure or purist or whatever, the best, but there might be some nuance that, you know, might make it, like you said, you know, you could be organic, but you might use some sort of a pesticide that's not really organic, or somewhere in the chain, you know, it ends up being impossible to have like a dogmatic ideology. You know, like you somewhere in the chain, like if you become too dogmatic, you end up starving to death. You know what I mean?
It's true.
You know, literally.
I think about that often with people that are very dogmatic, and it happens a lot in our industry, or at least people that like we're probably associated with. The people that are like us, quite frankly, that are like pretty hardcore homesteaders and stuff, and they're so like hell bent on doing things certain ways, but only the things they're specifically able to control. And then when that dogma, you know, you start shifting it into other areas of their lives, you realize how silly it actually is when I'm wearing a pair of Nikes but refuse to buy food at the grocery store. It's just like there's a gap there. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate it. You know what I mean? What you're trying to do. But like, if you're not living your whole life encompassing those values, then please don't push them on other people. Maybe just like educate them and like, you know, encourage them, because otherwise you just start coming off like a disrespectful, hypocritical, you know what I mean? Like a know-it-all. It's just like, it gets real weird real quick. And I you know, I don't know. I'm all for like people doing what we're doing, but just like, I don't know, positive vibes, I guess. Like, where was that lost at?
There's definitely a way to like not be so hateful on everyone and still promote the way you do something, or, you know, just like cut the bullshit. Honestly, what's the point in arguing about everything? There's 0 point. So
we talk a lot about how like there's different philosophies of growing. And I think we need to probably apply that to more areas, not us personally, but like I think people in general need to apply that to more areas of their life, you know, because it's like, yeah, it might work for you, but by golly, you're telling me that's the only way? Really?
Well, I'm seeing all these different ways people grow in chat. Well, I'm seeing a couple. I mean, I'm seeing Jadam. I mean, like, not everybody grows Jadam. Jadam works great for a lot of people, and it's, you know, an excellent way to grow, and it utilizes natural inputs. And a lot of people get a lot of success for not using Jadam, and then a lot of people get success for using simply compost, or a lot of people get success using bottle nutrients for that matter, and they can't, because they can't get success. They might not be able to source clean compost. It's like if you live in the middle of surrounded by like conventional agriculture, I mean, with your yard being sprayed all the time with the plume of pesticides just surrounding it, can you ever actually make clean compost? You know what I mean? Like, so kind of have to deal with what you got to work with. Now those situations are very unfortunate, and like we're kind of surrounded by large ag all the way around. We're in a subdivision, so I mean it goes even further to say not just what we eat, but like where our dogs and children and everybody's playing. There's little parks and neighborhoods, and they're all surrounded by ag. And so I mean, as far as what we can do to utilize clean inputs, I mean, all we can really do is work as best as we can. I mean, we put cardboard and stuff like that in our garden. I mean, not necessarily going to fear. I'm more along the hope side, the glass half full, optimistic side, that there is enough biology, sunlight, good vibrations, whatever you want to call it, to decompose and take care of whatever like glue or little bit of ink that might be in that, and just kind of roll with it, because at the end of the day, it's a lot more green to just compost those materials than it is to like throw them into the landfill that's using tons of CO2, to operate.
Times you're from there too, either with composting or with the cardboard composting too. Is like, if I was worried about overspray, I would just be like, all right, I'm gonna make sure that compost sits for 4 or 5 years, so I know it's got time to break that shit down.
Question for you.
Exactly. Use that biology to your advantage.
I know we've talked about this, I think even recently, but I have like 2 or 3 compost piles in my yard. Sometimes just because it's bigger, chunkier stuff. Sometimes it's just it happens to be conveniently placed next to the chicken coop, or at least where it used to be. But ultimately this compost is going to get used in my garden, right? So what do you guys think about location of a compost pile, specifically for taking it from the chicken coop, which is going to be high in nitrogen, lots of chicken poop, lots of straw, things like that, and then utilizing it for a vegetable garden, right? Do I want to put it next to the vegetable garden? Because it seems like it would be easy to brush it all out of the coop onto a tarp, drag it somewhere, and let it sit for however long, right? Also seems like it's easier to just pitchfork a chunk of compost over a fence into a garden than it is to start piling it up in wheelbarrows or trailers and then moving it across the yard from the chicken coop to the garden. All that said, the other thing is, should I know it helps, but I want your guys' opinion on this. Should I be putting it in direct sunlight, or does that really matter?
Ours is the first process of their compost, their bedding is in their area. It's closed off so they can't get into it anymore, but we do keep it pretty close just because it fills a lot, when we take all their bedding out, because we let it get 12, 18 inches probably in the winter time. And so I just scooped that out the other day, and it filled both sides of our compost bin all the way up.
And that's actually at a part that's well, for a couple reasons. Where its location is at a opposite distance from the vegetable garden. I'd say the furthest distance from the vegetable garden. One of them is a convenient location. It's kind of under the shade of a tree on the south facing side, so it's in direct sunlight, so it gets a little bit of shade there. But the reason that it is in their area, in organic growing standards, you can't really have chickens you can't really use chicken compost. At least you can't really use it right away. It has to be composted very correctly. It's very difficult to operate organically. Let me rephrase that. It's difficult to operate under the USDA organically with chickens. Otherwise, what we do is we just ensure that things like E. coli specifically aren't being spread across our garden through, one is like just dust. We spray down their area often. We spray down their coop. We spray down any, fecal dust, whatever might be floating around. But we compost their material all season in their area before it gets kind of moved over into another section of the yard to compost more closer to like our garden compost. And for again, I guess dual purpose. One reason this is on the north side of the garden, and that's due to the fact that it is in the shade over there. It is the furthest point from the garden again. So both of our composts are furthest from the garden, but not really to utilize. Like, yeah, it would make more sense to utilize it but again, I guess we have a small garden, so technically it's in the garden. Either way, it's in the garden, right? It's still within the garden.
You've got a lot more space to work with for sure. Ours is that just on both of our fences, they just.
You keep saying shade though. Do I want it in the shade? Because doesn't the sun kind of help it speed it up? And honestly,
no, you want it in the shade.
It's going to cook the biology, and you don't want
it to
it
be too much.
Okay. It's not even so much the heat; it's
itself up anyways, no matter what.
Yeah, it'll dry it out is the issue.
Yeah, it's going to dry it out. It's going to kind of kill the biology in there, and you don't want it to get above a certain temperature if you are going for a thermophilic compost like that with a big pile. You want to turn it regularly or monitor.
To be honest, I'm not turning anything anytime soon.
Yeah, I typically don't turn my compost, but in that scenario, you usually want to really let it go for a really, really long time, because a lot of bacteria ends up getting, it goes anaerobic inside there, before it goes aerobic. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. I've got one pile of from 2 years with a chicken coop cleanings that I have never even touched. You know what I mean? So I know that's ready, but we've got close to 30 chickens now, so it's speeding up quickly.
The time frame is about 2 to 3 years, like of just letting it sit without turning it. There's a 30-day compost method. As long as you take it up to temperature, you can compost, animal waste per USDA standards. But generally, you can't let those animals or use that compost directly in your garden. It needs to be composted first. So in that sense, logistics for some people's gardens make that difficult, because for us, we're not pasturing or doing anything like that with our chickens. We actually have a cooped penned area for our chickens, so it's kind of easy for us to do it. But we don't have a buffer between our chickens and our garden. So what we have is the areas closest to the chicken area, like there's mint and stuff there. We harvest that mint for different purposes, aromatic purposes rather than edible purposes, things like that. So we'll harvest mint from another part of our garden where the chickens aren't.
We just don't let our chickens near our garden because they'll eat everything and tear it all up. But I get the other side of it too. You know what I mean? Like, we're walking around stepping on enough chicken shit on our deck and stuff, because we do have the free range or pastured or whatever you want to call them chickens. But yeah, I mean, pros and cons to that, right? Like, you're not condensing your compost. They're pooping all over the yard, quite frankly. But at the same time, man, we probably spend 20 to 30% of what we would on feed, because they get to go out and just eat everything and all the bugs in the yard and go scratch through all my mulch and make a mess out of that, and everything else that goes along with it. But
yeah, we're lucky because in the winter time we open up the other gardens for them to go into. But right now, they're mostly getting all of our weeds. We have everything shut off, so they're kind of in a smaller area. And you can tell they start to get antsy. Today, one of them saw me picking strawberries and she figured out how to jump over the fence. She just kept doing it over and over. I kept putting her back.
It's not on the garden right now.
No, I put up a screen so that she couldn't jump.
The,
And
I
uh,
built a
The little ones are jumpers. They jump
Yeah.
all the way to the top of the fence, which the big girls have never done. So that's been fun.
I think it's because they know they can't like sit on that fence. I think they probably have tried, you just haven't noticed, because we did the same thing recently. We've got our two flocks, if you will, separated. We got about 14, 15 in each one. I think it's 14 and 16 or something like that. But the younger group is in its own coop. The older group is in their own coop. And the younger group will be slowly, well, they've kind of been slowly introduced to each other and just allowed to free range by each other, but they still stay separate at night. And eventually we have to introduce them, into the big coop to just kind of convince them all to stay over there and convince the older ones to allow them to. But in the process of that, we've built a run for the small chicken, the new chickens. I keep saying small because they are a mix of bantams and regular size. So they legitimately are just little teeny guys. I put up like a 4-foot tall fence. I think it was a 48-inch chicken wire, fence all the way around the outside of it. And it didn't take them more than maybe 30 minutes to start jumping up on top and flying over it. And day one that I put that up, there was, I want to say like 9 out of the 16 were outside of the run, and it's like, I guess you're just introducing yourselves to the other chickens that will eat you in a bit, like in one quick bite, but have at it. Enjoy the pecking order.
We really forced ours to live in the same area, because we don't have a choice. We haven't been able to build something else for them. We can't build another coop for these 4 chickens, right? Like they have to just get used to them. And
Yeah.
they're still not the biggest fans. They like sleep outside. They don't go in the enclosed area. They all sleep like in the coop, but in the run area.
Has there one of the OG hens, has she been like blocking them out kind of thing? Because they'll do that too. They're like, nah, this is my house.
Try to go in there.
they don't. It's weird. They don't.
They're not
They're
interested.
like Becca's
No.
like put them in there.
Mm-hmm.
First couple nights they stayed in there and we closed the door, but it's like too late in the season to keep the door closed. So it's all open air coop at this point.
They're still like
They
maybe
sleep like 3 feet from each other.
half the
It's like,
size.
Right.
chicken wire in between.
Oh wow.
It's not really.
They're like
Yeah.
maybe a third. They're like a bit smaller where it's obvious still.
That makes sense, because we've got some that are only like a week or two ahead of yours, right? And they're like they're big, but put them next to these full grown 2-year-old chickens or whatever, and it's like, yeah, no, they still like teenagers. But then you got these bantams, man. It's just so silly, especially the rooster bantams. Shout out Superior Buds for introducing me to that whole scene. Sure enough, we got one rooster bantam, and you can hear a rooster cockadoodling from a half a mile away, no problem. We hear our neighbors all the time. Ours and our neighbors go back and forth every morning and throughout the day, and it just is what it is. But this little bantam, and I think I've said this before, but it sounds like a little boy going through puberty. How they like start screeching and their voice starts cracking, and it's just like, that's how it sounds like it's cockadoodle doing the entire time. Like it's just trying so hard, but it's just like, oh, a little guy, and he's so small. I mean, he's like,
One of our
if I
hens,
put 2 of them in this jar of weed, like,
one of our hens went off and started cockadoodle doing.
uh-oh.
Yeah,
It was weird. They like lately they're up at 7:30, right? 8 o'clock being real loud. I'm like, you guys are gonna get us all kicked out of
I think
this
it's because
neighborhood.
there's additional birds in there now.
No, it's them laying eggs. They're fighting over one spot, some stupid stuff. They've got 2 boxes and they choose to go in the corner.
They're going to the corner of the coop. They're not using the fake
Dude,
eggs right now.
I built like a dozen boxes for ours, and they all lay them on the floor. It's just like, why? What do you want? Snakes to come around, or you want the raccoons, or the? It's just like there's so many options for
I
those
think
things.
they don't put enough like bedding in the coop in their boxes. I think they want it more comfy.
Well, and they go in there and kick it all out, so it's their fault, like.
But yeah, it's real annoying.
We've got one hen that's been pretty broody for a couple weeks now, and we've just kind of been allowing her to do it to see if we get any chicks, but nothing yet. We'll see. I
Well,
want to
we
do a dab, guys.
years, but we let a hen just stay broody last year, and she broke herself eventually.
Really? How long did that take?
A couple weeks.
Yeah. Ours is on week like 3 at least now.
We were gone for a bit, and it's like when we went on our honeymoon or something, and she was
Mhm.
like the whole time. And then I think I just kept kicking her out of there. Like
Yeah.
every time I went out, I just pushed her out.
Closed the door on them for a little while until they
Yep.
all going crazy, like they needed to get in there to lay eggs.
Yeah, they get aggressive too. Like hens usually run from you and whatnot. You know, the roosters might kind of give you a problem or whatever here and there, but when you got a broody hen and you go to try to move them, man, they will peck the crap out of your fingers. You have to like get in there, grab them, and chuck them out because they're fighting for it.
Yep. The little ones are cool though. I'm excited for them to start laying, and we'll see how that whole process goes.
Yeah, we got,
Or
6 eggs a day. And go ahead, Spark, what were you saying?
I was just say what I would do with those broody hens. So I put my hand under them to grab an egg, and when they go to peck my hand, I would use my other hand to grab their head and pin it against the wall. Yeah, you fucked up.
I like just grabbing them and literally throwing them out of the coop. Like you gotta go get some water, B.
There's a point where they're getting cooked after this, aren't they? This is how you have chicken legs for dinner. Chicken legs, chicken wings, chicken
Hey,
thigh,
if it happens, it happens.
roasted chicken.
I tell you, I've got a couple of roosters that have almost gone down that road.
Well, let's phase into the market stuff. I see Rick Cole in chat, and Becca just ran downstairs, I think, to get Ruben, but I gotta shout out Rick Cole, and he hooked us up with Kai Bear Studios, and Kai Bear Studios hooked us up with a banner for Rosemary's Oasis. And a couple banners actually for Rosemary's Oasis. Shout out to him. They've been hooking us up with our banners for a while now. They did the Red Setter Farm ones and stuff, and super fast. Boom.
Did you get a QR code on one? How'd you guys do it?
Not on this one. No.
Okay.
Becca wanted it without a QR code, but Becca did all the design work, and shout out to Anything Grows who did the logo work. I'm not sure if I saw her in chat yet or not,
I don't think I saw her in chat.
but when she gets here, I'll be sure to shout her out again. But so design work for the logo, and then Rick Hole and Kyber Studios, Angela over at Kyber Studios hooked that stuff up, and those banners will be seen this next weekend for the first time at Gems and Genetics. There we go. Trying to transition into Gems and Genetics, which all of us here will be at. And Becca, of course, not sitting here. Becca, when she gets back, will join the conversation with Gems and Genetics.
There she is. Anything Grows. You gonna be there this weekend? Anything Grows?
I believe she
Ruben's going to be there this weekend.
Mossy Pot will be there. I think it might be her first opportunity in the 3 or 4 years that they've been doing it to actually make it to the Michigan Gems and Genetics. So I'm excited to share that with her.
I'm excited.
I was just talking about our banner that we just got.
Oh,
Both
Lapdog.
from
passed out on the
Kyber
couch outside.
Studios. And then Anything Grows hooking us up with the logo work. And then Becca, of course, doing the rest of the work. Hoping to have some other stuff for our tinctures available by then. Becca's got some hair oil, a hair oil recipe that she put together, and hoping to have some of that with Rosemary's Oasis. Otherwise, we're really just going to have a bunch of the normal stuff that we have at the Red Setter Farm Town. All of our heady stash stuff is going to be at the Rosemary's Oasis booth. But I have to mute us for a minute and take care of this animal.
Well, we'll go ahead.
I was going to say, well, I'll be out there with my buddy there, Baked Pone. We'll be repping the Trite Comb Forge, and we'll have, I think on last count, about 8 different varieties of concentrate. Most of it will be live rosin that we'll have.
You gonna have
Yeah.
that triple burger there?
Come get triple burger, Spartan Puke, Funk. Well, we're gonna have 2 versions of several of our last run, because what we did is we did the selected pheno. So it'll be called, like, for example, the Functified. We'll have the Functified Select, which is the selected pheno, and then we ran all of the other phenos together, and we call that the house blend. And what's surprising is some of the house blends are actually better than the select when it came to the concentrate.
I mean, sometimes that full profile of terpenes, you know what I mean? It just makes a better extract to the, sometimes that's what you're looking for. I don't know, man. That's why I like the combos. Every once in a while, you're just kind of coming up with something new, and it's like,
Yeah.
different.
Yeah,
Are you excited about one in particular, or is there any that really stand out to
I
you?
like the Spartan Puke, but it's not much on the flavor end of things. It's just straight fucking power. And
okay.
I still like that one. Or if I wanted to get like terps, I would mix it with something else. But it's like for that straight punch to the face, I love that Spartan Puke.
That's not rosin. What is that with rosin that gives you? It seems like it gives you a heavier effect, if that makes sense, than at least in my experience with most of the
I think that's just because of what you work with. Is you work with a lot of sativa strains. So when you mix it with stuff, it's gonna be.
When I was saying it out loud, I started answering my own question. This is stupid. But on that note, though, guys, we popped two packs for the 2024 Pheno Hunt. It's kind of a little bit of a celebration of an anniversary over here, and not the 10th one, which happens to be today on YouTube. Check it out, youtube.com/Fregrowly, FREGROWLI. But also, we've had those 2 packs, both from Humboldt Seed Company, and I feel like I always give Spartan credit, and I think he always corrects me that it was actually baked. That told me to get the Raspberry Parfait because it was dominant in terpinolene, and that was a huge hit at Hash Bash Cup. I've got a tent full of them, of 3 different phenos still. Sorry, Spartan, 3 different phenos still that I'm interested in growing out and just blowing out half a room probably.
Nice.
Having a bunch of it ready in like August or thereabouts, maybe end of August. But the other one that we popped is finally come to fruition. So at the same time we ordered Raspberry Parfait, we ordered a second pack of seeds from the same company, Humboldt Seed Company. And I was looking for, kind of the similar palate profiles of flavors that I like, something down that road, but something more specific. One of the best shatters I've ever made, and I'm sorry to bring up shatter in 2024, but one of the best shatters I've ever made was Grapefruit Durban. It was incredibly light, pale yellow on the color, like almost clear see-through. It was some of the headiest, just absolute headiest, like straight to the dome, racy effect I've ever experienced on a dab. Definitely up there at the top, 3 to 5 in that category. And then also just like so sour, tangy grapefruit flavor, just so unlike anything else that I've experienced. And it's like citrusy, but more sour than citrus. I mean, it's a grapefruit. You guys know how it is. Like you bite into it, it's like, yeah, this is a fruit, but this is like, like something different.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was going for, something to replace, if you will, that Grapefruit Durban that I haven't grown in years because I just didn't continue to propagate it, right? Well, I came across one called Squirt, and it claimed to be a, kind of grapefruit terpene profile leaning strain. And so I decided to roll the dice on it, and I picked it up along with Raspberry Parfait, popped them both at the same time, vegged them out in the same area and everything, transplanted them at the same time. No, I didn't. The Squirt didn't get transplanted right away, just out of the 1 gallon pots into probably 5s or 10s or whatever it was, like the Raspberry Parfait did. And that's why Raspberry Parfait came around 2 months ago, and Squirt's just now coming around now.
Wow.
The caveat there, though, is it isn't just because of the transplant delay and getting it into flower. It's because I took it a full 11 weeks, and
Damn.
you know, most strains I'm cutting at 9 weeks. Most of my strains do great at 9 weeks. The lime skunk, clementine, like grapefruit Durban in the past, like most strains I've cut at right around 9 weeks. Some of them, like Kimbo Kush, way back in the day, I think was one, and even the Mr. Clean was another one more recently. There's some that are in those like low 50s, mid 50s that just like stand out right in that regard. But maybe the terp profiles, everything else didn't come together, so they didn't stick around. This one, I'm like, it's kind of one of those things where I just didn't get around to it. But quite frankly, at the same time, it's the first batch of seeds from a pheno hunt, so it's kind of like, let's see what happens, and let's push them a little bit further than I normally would. And I know Spartan, like a month, maybe 6 weeks ago, probably in that like week 6-7 range, maybe 5-6-7, you kind of were just trying to convince me on this show, like, well, what you want, just pick the one. You identified it, just pick the one, chop the others. Why are you going to waste your time?
Yeah.
But I did end up going with 3 phenos I did keep, and 2 of them are pretty similar, but one of them was different. I just wanted to give it a second shot, and a big part of that was because we pushed it to 11 weeks, guys, and one of them did not even make it that far. And it was one of those stunted, runted ones that, I was not planning on keeping anyway. But she straight up died off in the pot, like straight up. Like I didn't harvest a single gram off that one.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, and so that's just, it is what it is. I'm okay with that, But we took the rest of them, and I guess we took 2, 3, I think 3 of the phenos, and ran them all together as fresh frozen. Didn't harvest anything for flower, but ran 3 of the phenos for fresh frozen and kept one of the other phenos so far on its own. So we have an 11-week squirt that I can only explain it like this, guys. It smells like lime skunk. Like it has that BO lime skunk smell that we all know from cracking those jars and hitting those dabs. But it does not have that taste whatsoever. It has that sour, funky grapefruit flavor that hits you weird in the cheeks and the nose and makes you wonder if you really like it or not. And then, but you realize it's not rotten by any means. It's just sour, right? It's sour like a grapefruit. And then 30 seconds later, it hits you like a train. And you're just like, oh yeah, all right, let's go. What are we doing now? You know what I mean? Like, I'm ready to go. I'm bouncing. Let's do it. What are we doing? Are we gonna turn on some music? We dancing? Are we gonna do some dishes? We're gonna get out the vacuum cleaner. We want to take some clones. What are we doing, guys? And it was just like a fantastic flavor, fantastic effects. I don't know that I would push it to 11 weeks. It does seem like I kind of like pushed it to its limit, quite frankly, and quite literally. But we're probably
that effect, even after 11 weeks is pretty strong.
Dude, it's heavy. It's really heavy effects, great flavor. Masupa, I see her in the chat. Maybe she can give us a little insight on it, but it's like I'm trying so hard to hold off on packaging it, because if I package it for the Gems and Genetics event this weekend, we are going to dab half of it before we even get to the event this weekend. It's so good.
I went and got Aries just so I had a portable vapor, so I can do all the dabs.
I think I'm going to bring the generator on the dab now. We're trying. You better tell Maz Pot to save you some, because she's the one that really wants to dig in. But I mean, I'm right there with her. And then on top of that, like I said, we have some left over, and I have some lime skunk as well. So I think I'm going to do, and I'll just drop the name. I think I'm going to call it how I do like Clement Punch and Clement Lime and Clem in, like Clem N something. Yeah. I think we got a new formula with Squirt, and we're going to call it a Squirt O. So like Squirt of lime, Squirt of whatever it is, Squirt of Squirt of garlic. I don't know, something like that. So I think we're going to have Squirt of lime this coming weekend as well. I haven't run it yet. I haven't done anything with it yet. But after running that first batch of squirt and realizing how much it smells like lime skunk, but how much it tastes like grapefruit Durban, and how the effects are just like all over the place, I'm like, well, let's just see what happens. Like we just talked about with combos, like let's just see what happens. I don't think that the plants are close enough in flavor or terpene profile, like scientifically terpene profile, or the way they grow or the effects or anything like that to lime skunk and squirt, that I don't think I'm going to have to like choose one or the other. Whereas I kind of do still feel that way with garlic punch and grape fun dip. I think we might just be adding something new to the palette. So I'm excited to share it with everybody. And, hopefully we'll see you guys this weekend for some 11-a-week squirt.
We did some extractions this week as well.
Tell us, what did you do?
And well, it's not rosin and it's not resin.
RSO?
Well, it's not RSO either. We do RSO just about every time, but this is something that we do a few times a year, but not so often. Bubble hash, and this bubble hash is actually out of our cured outdoor stash. So our outdoor stash is still like nice and moist. It's been sitting in the workroom with 60% humidity all winter, and it's great, man. It's what 7 months cured now, and and ready to go. And so we made a round of bubble hash, and it's air drying, and will hopefully be ready. It should very well be ready by Gems and Genetics. So it's in a very nice and cool spot. It's probably like 50 degrees, getting a little bit of wind down in the dry basement, and with the air conditioner on. And I like to use some 25 micron screen, like the really thin bag, really tightly woven bag. They make little flat screens, and I like to just kind of lay one on the bottom, one on the top, and I'll pat it out with some paper towel, and I'll use the screens in between that and the paper towel, so you're not dabbing your hash with paper towel and getting paper towel fibers all over your hash. But I'll air dry that way, and 4 or 5 days later, it is nice and dry and ready to go.
Bubble.
Yeah, I mean, you could toss it in the freezer. Could run it through a microplane. You can do a lot of different ways to do it.
Why don't we make some infused joints on Thursday?
That's a great idea. I think that we should.
I'm thinking about rolling up a handful of pre-rolls, and by a handful I mean maybe a few dozen, but why don't we just do a little collab and just infuse them up, man?
And I'd say that we have three different qualities. We have the first pull, which was like the yield pull, and then like the second pull, which I would consider has like probably a finer particulate because there's probably less contaminant in there.
Listen, I'm not trying to put no 5-star in my joint or anything like that. Let's keep the full melt to the dab nail.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do the 5-star. It's probably it's 4-star. Let's be real. It's I mean to be honest, I call it the festival hash, right? It's for the festival time. It's 73 to 220. I just use a 220. I use a 220 bag, and I use that as the main filter, and I run it through the 73, and everything gets filtered out through that. I could run the 160 and do a bigger process, but time limits and time constraints.
Apparently the headiest of the headies is what, like 90 to 120 or something. I think that's what I've learned nowadays.
I like doing the one. I like a 150. I like a 150, 160 because I mean, and honestly, dude, all the heads are different sizes.
Right, it depends on the strain, right?
Yeah, I mean, you might not get anything if it's a 160 micron head, and you're using a 110, but. Yeah, so I like a 220 just for a lot of reasons, mostly just really making, for me, it's B grade hash, you know what I mean? It's nothing crazy, but it always comes out looking great. And it's some full melt most of the time, very little contaminant. You get on, you do it right. You take it over to your wash station, you spray out the hash, and, let it run through the bag and filter it properly and get it all out.
I got a rosin press too I could throw in the trailer. It gets to get real weird.
Yeah, let's do it. I do too. We'd have a press off. Let's just.
Oh,
press
you do?
all kinds of stuff. I never use the fucking thing. That's what I
Yeah.
got some of this hash. If we have some time, I might press some of it before getting out there.
Mine's
or
been
like,
collecting dust
just
for
kind of like
6 years.
yeah, maybe or storage ability. I'll just press into some little make some little pucks or something. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, I'll just think it in terms of like even clarifying it further, right? Because you're filtering it even further, but you're just trying to collect the best of the best out of that. You know what I mean? But the bags aren't useless. You guys can make edibles or whatever, tinctures or something after that.
RSO.
RSO.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, throw them right in the batch. I've been collecting. So okay, listen to this. I've been taking. Do I have an example? Yeah, I got an example here. So you maybe do some post-process whipping in a jar like this, right? And you try to scrape it as best you can, but ultimately you might have quarter gram, half gram, something like that left in the jar. So usually I'll just take this jar and leave it right next to my dab now, like I am now, and scrape it out and take a couple dabs out of it, right? As we kind of wrap it up. What I've been doing lately, before I can bring it to my nail, to do that is throwing a little ethanol in there, some lab grade 99.98% ethanol, and throw it in the back oven and heat it up. Just warm it up, I should say, just enough to kind of dissolve everything quickly. And then I've been taking that, ounce or so of ethanol per jar, and I've been collecting all that ethanol into one big jar. And I think Spartan knows where I'm going with this, but the reason I asked a couple weeks ago about what you would name a live resin version of RSO is because that's what I'd like to do. I know I still have to decarb it, and so I don't know that I can still call it a live resin at that point, because I think that kind of goes against a little bit of what I'm considering a live resin, I think. But at the same time, that's the source material, and it's been dewaxed, right? It's been it doesn't have the contaminants like fats, lipids, chlorophyll, all these other things, and it's just the last little bit of a live resin run as it would go in your jar to dab it. So all we're doing is dissolving that in ethanol, combining it with about maybe 30, 40, 50, 100 different other runs, right? And now we've got some sort of full spectrum live resin that's been dissolved in ethanol. We evaporate off the ethanol, and that's essentially what RSO is. I mean, just a clarified version of it, if you will, or a further processed version of it. So, I don't have the end product yet, but I think a simple capsule or something like that is what I'd like to try it in. And I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out a freaking name for it.
I would call it resin caps. That's what I'd call it.
Yeah, it still sounds like it. So it's
Resin caps.
Precursor is still a resin, right? It's live resin, and then it's cooked down into a. So
Do you call it decarbed live resin oil, DLRO?
what's the purpose of the ethanol? What's
As a method to dissolve it off the glass, a method of collection.
Okay. So you're talking post collection for your other stuff.
It would replace ISO or anything like you guys would use in terms of extracting it. I mean, I've already done that with the hydrocarbon, but now we're like almost doing like a secondary. It's not. I don't want to call it a secondary extraction. We're just dissolving it out of a vessel using ethanol.
Yeah. You're cleaning your glassware, but collecting.
Yeah, all the bits and delicious pieces of THC and cannabinoids and terpenes and everything else.
It's just a full spectrum cannabis oil.
We do the same thing.
FSO.
We'll take our left. So when we make RSO, there's a little bit at the bottom that we can't get up into a syringe. So I'll look at that and I'll assume it to be 0.25 to 0.5 to 0.75 grams, whatever it is, and I'll add per bit of MCT oil to it, and then I'll make full spectrum tinctures out of that. That's so I get it. Yeah. That's our way around that. Well, we'll use MCT oil. You're using ethanol to clean your glassware, and at the same time utilize that material that's stuck to your glassware and not waste it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like using all the parts, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I would say dissolve it or just keep it as it is and create that like green dragon, so to speak, right? That alcohol based tincture, you know what I mean, as it is.
Be a gold dragon, you know.
Dragon, exactly. So this is going to be a more refined, pure version of that alcohol tincture, or go through the further processing and make again a capsule out of it.
I think this is a good point, though, is bringing back that fat or something to transport it, right? I forget the name off the top of my head what that's called, but if I'm dewaxing in the vessel that I'm processing in, it's not like I have these fats and lipids that are going to help get this into your system and help your body metabolize it, right? And we kind of need that. It's not an emulsifier, but like I know that can be part of the process too. No, that's not the right word. I can't think of it right now. Emulsification would be like turning this, like including this product into something else, like a butter or something like that.
It's more like a carrier, I guess.
Yeah, like a fat carrier. I can't think of the term. I'm sure someone will correct me here soon in chat. But yeah, we want something like that. It's just going to make it more bioavailable in our system and make it more effective. So, I mean, just throwing back a dab, you know, like an undecarb dab fresh out of a jar of, you know, clementine or something like that. I don't know really how far that's going to get you. It might give you some medicinal value, I'm sure, but I don't think you're going to feel much off that. But if we had a decarbed version of that and you threw it back, it would absolutely work just as much as an edible or RSO or anything else. So as long as we maybe include MCT oil or coconut oil or something else like that to help a little bit, I think it I don't know, just throwing some ideas around.
You know,
I want to do something with it.
The effect isn't there if it's not decarbed, right?
Correct.
You don't get high, but THCA it still is good for your endocannabinoid system. It's still
even transdermally. You know what I mean? That's why topicals, it's okay to have THCA in topical.
The lock, you know, you're still putting the key in the lock and the mechanism that applies the homeostasis. So you're still applying the repair mechanism. You're still supplementing, you know, you're still giving yourself that vitamin, you know, that is, you know, the quote unquote vitamin, you know, the you know, it's like that, you know, whatever it is, the supplementation, the boost in hormone or whatever boosts that anandamide and 2-AG in the CB1 receptor. You get it from THCA. You just don't feel that psychoactive effect as potently or as strongly. There's some interesting like anecdotal study though about what might be in your stomach or your metabolic processing and decarboxylating in your stomach during different times where you're undergoing different waves of metabolic rate. There we go. I'll get there eventually. When your metabolic rate is going through, you know, ups and downs, sometimes you could even have something such as like citrus, lowering your pH, something to do with creating heat and whatnot in your gut, and it actually decarboxylates THCA and could in fact get you high. So I mean,
it's also like you're ingesting it through your lungs versus digesting it through your digestive system. It turns it almost into a totally different drug. You know what I mean? I don't know again, big words off the top of my head.
Oxy THC,
yeah, something like that. And it's like, you know, it's technically a different molecular structure and everything, so it's got to be working in a different way. And I'm sure it's in a way that our body can process it, you know, through our stomach and liver and, you know, kidneys and all that, versus just our lungs maybe, but, or for that matter, our you know, transdermally. But I think about that. How many different ways are there to ingest this thing? It's like it wants to get in us one way or another. I'm just looking at it.
We're producing it, whether or not we take it, whether or not the plant grows or not. You know what I mean? We're producing I don't know if they're hormones or enzymes or what anandamide
metabolites, I think.
metabolites, whatever those are, but we're producing, you know, molecules that mimic THC and CBD and all these other cannabinoids. They mimic them, and then they fit in the CB1 receptor, rocks through our body, and allows us to repair ourselves. You know, puts our skin back in check, and our organs back in check, and our bones back in check, and our blood back in check. And you're like, well, how does it do it? It's because our entire body has these receptors. That's it. You know, it's not like aspirin. It's not like Tylenol. It's not like a normal pain. It's not like another pain medication. You know, those play on our pain receptors differently. Opioids play a totally different role when mitigating pain when you're talking about cannabis. That's why I'll talk to people and they'll talk about cannabis as with pain as kind of like alcohol works with pain, or the way the opioids work with pain. And it's kind of like more like making your mood forget the pain exists, where cannabis can actually like go through and help your body's immune system flame back up and repair what's going on. You know,
certainly more of a holistic approach, right? Would that be the kind of defining way of looking at it? I don't really know the methods for which like narcotics or painkillers work. I imagine it's something to do with like blocking receptors or something, but it's like, I wonder if, you know, maybe if your brain doesn't feel it, does that just mean your body's not, you know, is your body still not combating against it? Because, you know, I know inflammation is a great cause of a lot of different other issues. And it's like, yeah, if you're just because you're not perceiving the inflammation or the pain, does that mean your body's not still experiencing it somehow? You know,
that's why people's pain doesn't go away or persists, and why those pharmaceuticals don't generally work long term, and they always have to be switched up to a bit bigger dosage, or, you know, the tolerance starts coming into play. You're gonna have to do the same thing with cannabis. You're gonna have to increase dosage over time, but like,
or change strains, which there are millions of, you know.
Yeah, but still, you know, much different than the way that they'll play with pharmaceuticals and trying to alleviate,
oh, for sure,
you know, and remediate, you know, aches and pains or anything.
We've talked about SSRIs on the show too, and the fact is, from my understanding, I should say, we don't understand how those work, right? We just know they work, you know, in the ways that we found they do, and so we've applied them to like situations, but we don't really know the methods for which
they're like legal psychedelics. Essentially, they're like legal.
Interesting way of looking at it. I like that.
they promote, they induce serotonin and dopamine. You know, they do what psychedelics do. So the difference is in a higher dose of what psychedelics do. The increased serotonin causes hallucinations and visual stimuli and things like that, right? So in a way, they're mimicking their psychoactive drugs, right? And so cannabis has, you know, the way that cannabis plays on the CB1 receptor, it also increases serotonin and dopamine, but not really in the way that like psilocybin will increase dopamine, because it's more of a shot of dopamine. It's much more than other psychoactive chemicals like mescaline is more dopamine than serotonin. And they're all very, very much related molecularly. They're very close molecularly, but they do slightly different things to the way your body perceives reality, you know what I mean? But at the same time, some of these substances are actually also repairing, like for the sense of like psilocybin has been shown, you know, not, you know, just by itself, and then with the addition of like helpful friends like niacin and lion's mane is showing to repair oxidative stress to the brain specifically, and repair neuron damage and neuroregenesis and regrowing neural pathways. So like, you know, the act of getting high isn't necessarily like damaging brain cells. You know, some chemicals and substances and, you know, oxidative stress, life, fats, sugars, chemicals, glyphosate, a lot of stuff is definitely damaging cells. It's not just brain cells, but they're actually damaging our actual DNA. Some things are actually DNA damaging, whereas holistic medication and stuff like that is more of a increase your wellness approach instead of combat it with
It's preventative. Well, not even preventative, really. It's just overall better health.
In a sense, preventative. I mean, preventative is definitely a part of it, because
that might not necessarily be the immediate focus, though. That might just be the benefit, right?
It's like it. I mean, it's in a sense, it's like Western medication is like consume everything until you feel sick, and then take an allopathic, usually petroleum-based pharmaceutical to feel better, not necessarily get better or get well, but feel better. But there's no harm in just consuming everything, unless the consumption of that changes your perception of the status quo, such as psychoactive substances like cannabis or mescaline or DMT or anything like that, right? You can't do any of that, but you can have all of the other bad shit, all of the dyes and all of the things that causes DNA damage. You can have all of the DNA damaging things, the glyphosate and the crackers and all of that we talked about for many episodes. But
also have seeds of cannabis. You just can't grow them, right? You can have this. That's how silly this government is.
Yeah, dude. And so I like the idea of the, what do we say, civil disobedience. So we're and just like,
one of my
for me, it's kind of like just putting all of the conventional. It's not even so much that the government has made it illegal. And everyone's like, fuck the man. And I get it. I get that, because they're the ones who ultimately control whether
They're actually making it more legal, though. So
they make it more.
Right at the end of the tunnel, it's like we're moving in the right direction.
But the big reason that it's illegal is the corporate stranglehold over all of it.
The biggest reason it was illegal is because Harry Anslinger needed a job.
But he was also influenced by the Rockefeller and the Rothschilds and the DuPonts, and all those guys were in a big old circle jerk together, dude.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
that was painted white so many times by that fucking circle jerk. Those dudes, I'm telling you what, man. That whole fuck. I wasn't around, you know what I mean? But there's enough stories that are pretty much
around in another form.
I've been around and around and around and around. Dude, it sucks, man. It sucks because it's still going on, is the deal, and it's not just with cannabis being illegal. You know what I mean? Because
you can't worry about what you can't control.
It's all of the they've got stranglehold. They've got corn. I mean, you practically can't grow corn without it's
I grew corn in my backyard, man,
without having somebody else's seed. But try to sell that corn.
Oh yeah, or try to grow enough corn to feed your family year round on top of everything else you want to grow too. It's just like there's never enough.
The idea of being able to sustain yourself is threatened in a big way because of that. A big part of sustaining yourself is like to pay an electric bill or to be able to buy anything to help your thing go along. You got to make money, period. So you got to be able to do something, have a service to provide, or and the way regulations go. Like we worked a farmer's market this week. You know what I mean?
How'd that go, man? It looked cool. I liked you guys say it.
It went really well. And the reason that
great. Those starts, those look good as fuck.
Dude, we sold plant starts, and cannabis isn't the only, like, let's say, cash crop or crop commodity crop nowadays that is, regulated. Lots and lots and lots of things are certainly regulated. And at the farmers market, there was a USDA representative walking around. If you have any cottage law products, you need to be making sure that everything's following certain standards. I like the idea where I respect the idea that people want regulation on cannabis. They want testing. They want clean cannabis. I respect that. I also respect somebody's free judgment to just go to their buddy and not worry about what's on it. I respect that too. So I like the idea of that the market, the farmers market specifically, allows cottage law. In Michigan, cottage law, in cottage law in many states, says that you're a sovereign entity, so we're going to assume that you can play by the rules to a certain extent, okay? And by play by the rules, that means provide a clean, sanitary, pathogen-free product to the public from your home, from your kitchen, so to speak. And that can be granola, it could be bread, it can be most baked goods, cookies, cakes, things like that. It cannot
Good right now.
what's that?
So I feel like a baked good right now.
Oh, dude, let's get into some. it cannot be fermented stuff. So some things require. But anyways, if you were to like sell that stuff in a high scale, most at a grocery store, whatever, you would need like some sort of licensing.
Yeah, and you'd be inspected by the USDA.
By the USDA and the FDA and all these other things, and a lot of times you wouldn't be able to do that residentially. Okay, you'd have to
County Health Department.
You have to get a commercial building permit and all of that stuff, right? So you need totally different zoning and everything. You'd have to move your operation at least. With cottage law, they allow you to be a scale up to, with Michigan, they use an arbitrary dollar amount and they say $25,000 worth of goods. So you can sell $25,000 worth of bread.
Is that per household or per individual?
That's dude. I think that's per individual. Don't quote me on this because we do have our cottage law certificate. We took our cottage law thing this past year, but I think it's per household because actually I think it's per household because Becca and I filed jointly as a single. So I don't think that we are technically an individual, right? I think that her and I are technically a single through the household, similarly to the way that but the thing is this law has been in place since 2010 regardless. And as far as inflation and everything goes, I think that as a community, similar to the cannabis community, the farmers market, I want to talk to some farmers out here. And what does it say? Does it say household? Okay. Not really.
Sorry,
sure.
I'm reading it and I'm muted.
Go ahead.
Operating a business under the cottage food law is not for everyone. Some food products do not fit under the exemptions, and some businesses aim to make more each year than the $25,000 cap outlined in the cottage food law. It's a great opportunity. Money starting a business, blah, blah, blah. Let's see.
So it's not per household, it's per business.
Well, I mean, you could have 100 businesses, though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
not
think it's got to be a limit.
It's not required.
We weren't reading the law, but we were reading this article. But by the way that article reads, it says by business.
It's suggested to have an LLC for protection, but it can be an individual. It can be under a proprietary or an individual.
Yeah, it just says $25,000.
And one of the things, so one of the required, they have some regulation, right? Your products must state that the item has been produced in a facility that has not been inspected
per household. Sorry, there it is. It's $25,000 per household.
Per household. Okay, yeah, as assuming
I needed to know. I'm sorry.
Well, $25,000 in 2010, right? So I'm thinking that number should go up a little bit. You know,
Probably a lot, probably
A
to
lot.
like $50,000 at this
lot.
point. But you know, we got.
Well, there's
Yeah.
USDA reps, and I'm just gonna like see what's up with that. I'm gonna
Wait, is it USDA or is it the state of Michigan? Because this is on
MDARD. I'm sorry, not USDA. MDARD, Michigan Department of Rural Development.
agricultural and rural development. I mean, yeah, those are my people. Let's go. Let's get them. Let's get them on
Which
board.
is I think connected to the USDA and da 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 da.
I'm sure. But
So
hey, I'm
so they allow small producers to exist without inspecting your home. MDARD's not going to come in your home if you have a cottage license that you don't even need. It was a free gig.
Just have a fucking booth out in your front yard if you want to.
You totally can. Yeah.
You have to sell face-to-face.
One thing is about cottage law is
putting
that
under
have
municipality.
an honor. You can't have an honor jar out front in your house. You have to like be face to face because these products.
What? Really? Because I see the honor thing all the time around.
Honor-
Yeah, I'm surprised about that.
Agriculture. No, hold on. There's a difference between cottage foods and agricultural products.
Okay.
Lettuce, tomatoes, none of those are cottage foods. Okay, these are cottage foods that require processing. So something that requires to be made. You know, you're making granola, you're cooking something, you're baking bread. Okay, right? Now you can't do salsa, you can't do pickles, you can't do a lot of these things. Those all require a MDARD or USDA, FDA license. Okay, under inspections and all of that. Now, if you want to sell an agricultural product, which would be beets, you know, carrots, any of the stuff that you grow, unwashed, unlimited, no licensing, no regulation. You can sell all of that stuff and respectfully claim and accept more than $25,000 because there's no limit on a non-cottage law. So cottage law is more limited, right? But in the same sense, still has a sense of free market. You know, you're not getting inspected. They're assuming that you can understand that you can understand how to use a pH strip, a ppm strip to test for your bleach solution. They're assuming that you can understand how to operate a bleach solution. You know what I mean? If you only have 2 containers in your sink, or 1 container, they're assuming you can understand how to create a triple sink, you know, because they have steps on the website on how to do it if you don't, you know what I mean? Now, let's turn this over into cannabis.
Real quick before you.
Bleach is the king of cleaners. I know people want to hate on bleach, but bleach is the shit.
We bleach. We vinegar for the most part because we're on a septic.
Vinegar also good, but that's a harsh smell.
The only bad side of bleach is just killing all the good bacteria and like that, you know, if you have a septic or something like that, you know, there are potential after effects of it, but it's a great cleanser. Yeah. I want to share this real quick before we translate this to cannabis, because I just saw it near the bottom of this page that it looks like if you're a honey or
maple syrup
producer, you're actually able to get into like stores and other retailers as long as you're able to label them, keep up with standards, you know, and
that's only up to $15,000. And actually maple syrup has multiple tiers of licensing. There's like a
$1 or less.
I bought some honey off of a guy in the, you know how in most stores, like even this was at a Tractor Supply, you go through the first set and it's like a little, you know, 2-3 steps and there's another set of doors. Well,
it's where the shopping carts are.
Yeah, in that little space in between doors was a guy set up at the table selling honey. I bought it just from the next town over.
Was it raining? Because it's usually outside.
No, it wasn't raining. He was just chilling inside anyway.
I gotta shout out this dude here, man. Pure Honey. Right in Superior Township, right down literally a couple miles from our house. This here's a blueberry honey specifically. And so I'm not going to show it, but I'll let's see here. I don't want to like put all of his information here. I'll block out his information, but it says right there, produced in a facility that's not been inspected by MDARD, and then it has to have his address and it has to have their phone number on the product. Those are a couple rules.
Is that an address of where it was produced, where it was grown, or just a location to speak
I think
to them?
the business. I think that your business, where it's coming from.
So probably the household, the
Yeah,
homestead.
that's so that if you have any issues, you can get a hold of the owner. And that's with honey. Honey has a little bit of a lesser. You're only allowed like 15,000 or something like that. Maple syrup's got a couple different restrictions based on.
Look at him. He's doubling up. He's got blueberries too. I'm sure.
No, this is Becca. Becca's got this. Becca's been doing this instead of apple juice and stuff like that to raise her blood sugar.
Yeah.
So she's and so this other honey is wildflower, Michigan wildflower.
And they do taste different. If people are wondering why it matters, it fucking matters.
Different. The blueberry is a delicious flavor. It doesn't taste like blueberry. It tastes like the nectar of the flowers of the blueberry plant. And if you are in our zone, our blueberries flowered in early April. So I mean, this is fresh. He had like 7 different. How many different varieties of honey did he have? Like 7 different varieties of honey, and they're all these bees are right down the road. So I'm blown away by this. I mean, super local. Even if I'm sure there's a manufacturer date on here, even if this was from last year, even if this was from 5 years ago, honey never expires. That's the beautiful thing about this wonderful product that the bees manufacture, is that it's pure sugar to the extent with whatever other
I always ask him for raw. So you got the raw.
This stuff looks a little filtered, but he definitely had some darks. What was the really dark stuff? Is that the cranberry? Oh, he had a buckwheat that was like black honey, dude.
Oh wow.
Oh.
And then he also had a cranberry. I'm not sure if he's harvesting cran. It's not a very wet area over here, so I don't know if he has like a cranberry farm, or he may just also have different.
He probably farms out his bees.
I was gonna say, I wonder if he farms out the hives.
May farm out the hives. That's a good point.
Super cool.
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean they're like, I don't know if you can call that local honey at that point or whatever, but it's like, I can't imagine they're going too far with them either, though.
That's a good point too. I'll have to ask him. I'll have to ask him if the actual hives are nearby too, just specifically for allergen and health. Honestly, even if he was outsourcing the hives, I doubt it would be that far. I'm sure he's doing it by a car and trailer.
If it was that far, the health benefits are still there.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. So
yeah, it's not for lack of
Oh, they're all on his property. There we go.
I've watched a show actually. I don't know. It's probably like Animal Planet style level of production, but it was like talking about
level of production. Okay.
Listen, it wasn't anything fantastic, but I just remember them talking about like farming out hives to this was down south somewhere. I don't know if it was like peaches or oranges or whatever it was. They would rent out like the big multi-hectare farms were renting hives, and they would pull in these just giant trailers full of hives, park them right out in the farm, and just see it in a couple weeks or whatever.
It's fucking crazy. It's a big business, man.
Yeah,
that's huge. Sean, we have a hive that we need to get together. We're trying to get our garden set up out at the farm, and the way that this year has been going, it's just we barely had time to mow the grass out there, let alone get any area plotted out. But actually we did get some area. Cutting the grass is part of expanding this garden, so a lot of the area was way overgrown last year, so I've been slowly expanding the lawn space so I can start tarping it off.
So are you harvesting that grass, or are you just chopping and dropping it?
It's chopping and dropping. We did harvest it for our garlic. So I went and we raked up a couple times, and where our garlic plot is at, I think we talked about it a little bit last week. It's like 3x10 foot. There's like 80 or 100 cloves of garlic.
That's so awesome, dude. That is so awesome.
It's totally dry farming. We haven't watered it once. You watered it last time we were there. You never did water it, so we never watered it. So the tips of some of the garlic leaves are kind of fading and drying out. We did get a really nice rain, and I did mulch it really heavily the last time I cut the grass. So, hoping that the scapes. I mean, it's almost garlic season. We got just a couple more weeks, and it'll be ready to pull. So, fingers crossed. We just get a couple more weeks out of it, and then we'll be good for like a 25-30 footer bed for next year.
We have a similar.
Actually, get to harvest some for dinner. 3 years later.
Similar but less intended situation going on over here, where we've got maybe probably 15 or so, I think red onions. I think it's the red onion patch that were left over winter, and they're 2.5, 3 feet tall with the bulbs on top just getting ready to bloom. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Like I haven't seen this happen before, because normally I'm harvesting them way before this, so we've just cycled like a full year almost in these.
Dope.
Yeah, and like he said, having it watered, it's just like, see what happens.
Cannabis plant in the ground so far. I have another 8 that I was supposed to get in the ground yesterday, and it didn't happen. I got to weed the area and get some stuff cleaned up, so it's just not happening yet. But the garden's rocking along, man. Our tomatoes are in the ground. We got some cayenne peppers in the ground. Becca's been making little like perennial guilds and flower guild. We actually did a little flower guild around our cannabis. We did a wild petunia. It actually has a psychoactive properties, so it's a psychedelic petunia, but it's kind of like nutmeg, or to the point where you get the psychoactive effects is kind of the point where the plant becomes lethal. So you don't want to.
So that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, it's not a fun high. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, I'm guessing that it has similar properties to like a microdosing. Like nutmeg, like that. Nutmeg's actually got some.
You got it in your pumpkin spice latte. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's what make people a little weird around Halloween time. Exactly. Everybody's like, everybody like got burned to the stake back in whatever year they thought everybody was sick. Was witches, and they were all high off the LSD bread. But nowadays, everybody's, witches, but they're really just high off of the fucking pumpkin spice lattes. It's kind of like a strange parallel to the, what do they call that? That era with the, it was the wet year. There's a name for it, for the rye bread, the ergot.
The ergot got people.
Yeah, there's like a name for that season, the wet season specifically, that got everybody all stoned on ergot.
Oh, it was the high times. That's what it was.
The high times. Yeah, you don't want to fuck around with ergot, man. Maybe if you know
the word, it's not even a pleasant sounding word.
A person who knows a person who knows a person, fuck around with ergot, but I wouldn't fuck around with ergot.
Guys, I've been kind of crossing. What's that?
I was just fucking with you.
Okay, I've been kind of crossing 2 paths lately, and I've been enjoying watching videos about utilizing drones in farming.
Oh, that's
yeah, and I know I
like drones and IPM. I don't know if you've seen any of those.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. Because I think that we're not tilling with drones. I mean, okay, to be fair, basically all of our farming equipment can be completely remote controlled nowadays. So they kind of are all drones. It's just to the extent of utilizing the software or having like the manpower to oversee it. I know they do it in construction as well, especially like big equipment moving dirt, kind of rocks and like digging, I don't know, that kind of shit, quarries, I guess, that kind of work. But with drones, it's like you're not moving earth with drones. You're not harvesting plants with drones, like to the extent of an aerial drone, I guess is the route I'm going down here. But like Spartan said, when it comes to IPM, if you were to think about a spray, I think this is a very
Not
effective
even
method.
spray. I've seen these things in the greenhouse. They're small, maybe the size of my hand or something, going after freaking malls and hitting them with their blades and just chopping them up in midair. It's fucking
That's
awesome. It is
Okay.
awesome. Dude.
Okay, and I know we've probably all seen the video of like the robot going down the apple aisle and just slapping all the apples off the tree and something. Like there's drone, like there's different drone technology. I'm just thinking aerial because I don't know.
Yeah, are you talking about? So predator bug drones?
No. Let me just show you.
Yes.
What about a little drone that'll go and snatch all the aphids off of your plants?
I mean, that definitely will exist in nanobots and all that.
They're the size of a bumblebee. It's like a little bumblebee, and it's
they'll be
automatic.
smaller
It's
than
a
that.
little Roomba. It's a little fucking bumblebee Roomba, and it just.
I just want a stingray that flies around and stabs all the aphids one at a time with its tail.
Sorry, Arbito,
But I'm not going to unmute this, but check this thing out. So this is like a second, third, fourth version of like their spraying drone or whatever. But and I'm not even sure like capacity of this thing or whatever. I want to say it's like a 5 kilogram or something capacity, whatever that translates to. And it doesn't look like it holds a lot of
Well, it
liquid.
doesn't have to because it's efficient. So it'll look at the color. The ones I've seen, it'll look at the color of the actual crop, and then it'll just treat the spots that need it and not treat the whole field, which saves the farmer a shit ton.
I imagine, dude. And this is I think just a demo, so I don't even know if there's any. It doesnthink look like there's anything growing.
No plants even.
Yeah, but so I don't know if this is what they're spraying or anything, but this is like I think it's like a $30,000 drone, to be quite frank, but it's doing like a 30 to 32 foot wide micronized spray, pretty
32
evenly.
Swath. Damn.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know how many rows that is. We're talking what, like, God, what are they? 4 foot rows or something like that in corn?
I like I like the whole thing about the human innovation where we kind of we're like, can we do it? Well, let's try to do it. You know what I mean? But there becomes a point where it's like, should we do it? Like you create and create to the point where it's like some things just shouldn't be created. You know what I mean? Like we can make any. Let's just say it now. Like anything can be invented. Any fucking thing can be invented.
For sure. If you can think of it, you can make it.
When you think of it, it can be made. You know what I mean? But should it is the question. Some things are.
Well, not everything. I don't think this is our limit, but
I just think that trying to adapt to giant, large-scale monoculture agriculture is going to just destroy our atmosphere. Is all. It's just going to end up eating away at our own. Not the whole green revolution deal. I'm more talking about just going to eat our ocean. Our ocean's going to die, and then we're not going to have oxygen. Like that's just I'm not going to say it's going to get warm or cold. I'm going to say that our ocean's going to die. That's all. That's the reality of the deal. Dead ocean. The coral's dead. And then we don't have oxygen. And then we choke. So it can be warm or cold. I don't care what the temperature is.
There's a lot of oxygen in the ocean, all that water.
That's what I'm saying.
We got to knock off the hydrogen, burn that in our cars, and we can breathe the oxygen.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. But anyways, aside from that, I think that if we add more compost and plant more diversity.
Dude, I don't know. This sounds ridiculous, but compost is magical, man. Compost is fucking magical the way that it solves so many fucking problems.
Let me throw before we get too far off this, let me just throw another application out here for you, because in the area I live, about once, maybe twice a year, I smell a very heavy flow of manure. And it's not just because the cows happen to all take a shit at the same time down the road. It's because they're spraying thousands of gallons of manure over the course of hundreds of acres of fields, right? And of course, it's liquefied manure, whatever. I don't know, God knows what else is in it, but would that be an application for a drone that's not IPM, but it could be a positive benefit, right? That's not like a bad thing, spraying manure, right? Other than the smell.
No, that's a better thing.
Yeah, they got manure spreaders. They have like more composted manure that they kind of spread in more of a dirt-like application.
Yeah, just think of teas, right? It's just a tea.
Tea. Yeah, you're adding life. So yeah, I mean, yeah, even if it was like a monoculture thing, it's not void of life, right? So I mean, that's I think that's
some quick nematode application too. Let me tell you what.
I don't think the hatred, not really a hatred. I don't think my resistance towards monoculture is necessarily the fact that it's one big crop and somebody's profiting off a crop. It's more or less the fact that it's just creating a void of life. That's all. Because of its scale. At its scale, when you have one thing, you don't have any. You have like a dominant in the food chain and you don't have any pressures, and we don't have pressures. You have, viral load. You have other things that outcompete it. And, so then you just have to have chemical. It's just almost impossible. And sometimes they can be organic chemicals that are used, but in the quote unquote organic, petroleum's organic, and a lot of stuff's made from petroleum and called organic, and I don't know. It just, some of it's semantics, and then some of it is actually licensed, and you just have to know which is which, I suppose. Go from there, right?
Do we tangenting here, but do we want to break down what's going to happen this weekend?
Yeah, let's go back to the Gems and Genetics. AD&D got the best of us, I think.
Yeah, for real. I feel like we didn't actually talk about this.
We got hash. Genetics. Processing, Dogma, and everything else. But this is Michigan Gems and Genetics.
This is one of my favorite parts, honestly. The fact that Mendo Dope is going to be playing there on Friday, this coming Friday.
Oh, look at this! My comment right at the top.
Look at that. Pew.
And
so, yeah, Red, why don't you break it down while I just scroll through some posts here?
Well, I love the fact that Mendo Dope's going to be there because I've gotten a chance to meet them dudes once before. They gave me an awesome compliment on weed that Becca and I grow, and Fragoli introduced me to them. Shout out to Fragoli and his past on the GrowTube Roundtable, where it's a long dark. I first saw Mendo Dope and any of their stuff, and I always thought that it was cool to like use cannabis for art, and in fact we use the stems and stalks and stuff like that for stuff, and they used it for microphone poles and stuff like that, and I was like, hey, that's right up my alley. So I always found a liking to those guys.
Look at that picture. I think that's a hemp microphone pole right there.
Every year
top left photo there. And then High Rider, I think is how you say it. They're gonna be on Saturday night. Hayrider or High, I'm gonna say High Rider, HY. And they're a Grateful Dead cover band. And
I think it's High.
I'm a big fucking Deadhead, so you know me, in the spirit of Bear Osley, let's get weird, and so
let's get weird.
I'm planning on having a fun time there. Let's go to let's see, other acts and performers. I know Ganja Girl's on the lineup. She's usually doing Third Eye Craft Affair events and is actually a big supporter of Red Setter Farm and help in supporting us. She uses our pet CBD products for her pooch. So shout out to her and all her support always. There's also going to be informational speakers and activist speakers, such as your own Spartan Grown. Russ, do you have any maybe a precursor to what to expect from that side of things?
No, man, I'm going into this whole thing blind. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
Well, let's see some names there. We got Rick Antis, that's Mr. Fungi, and Amy Carter. And I see Michigan Weedsters. There we go. So I'm guessing the Antis, Amy Carter, they will be there with the Weedsters.
Country Roots 420, Chris Roots, T Dog, Michael File, Ryan Bringold, Michael Thu, Sunshine Daisy. I think you said Amy Carter already, Rick Antis, and of course our very own Russ Patton, Spartan Grown.
Right, man.
Let's see a handful of those names. Let's see Ryan and the Weedsters. They are ones responsible for getting rallies together when we were rallying against the MCMA. And then you've got Michael File, who is he's worked
Thuy. I think it's Michael Thuy.
Michael,
No, there's two of them. Michael
File.
File and Michael Thuy.
Michael File is head of the Michigan Decrim Nature. He's also part of the Michigan Dance Safe for those looking for drug testing, substance testing, fentanyl testing, things like that. Harm reduction. There we go. Harm reduction. And then, Michael Thuy, who was under some pressure with his medical dispensary, CBD dispensary that he had in Northern Michigan, and has recently been gotten all that figured out. And
He was raided, and then he fought it and won.
And so applaud him for winning that one. And he now is the owner of I believe he has a metric license up there in Northern Michigan. I'm not
So too.
I'm not sure how far north
Michigan, but I think he just recently got that license.
recently, and I think he's north of Traverse City. He's up there. He's either in Traverse City or in the Upper Peninsula. So he's up.
What kind of license is it? Do you remember?
Provisioning, I
I
think.
think it's a provisioning
Okay.
center. I'm not sure though. Is it?
Everybody on that list has got something that contributes for sure to the cannabis industry. They're all like Chris on there. I like him. He's like the Build a Soil of Michigan for Country Roots. So that's cool to see him on there too.
Yeah, he's a super nice dude. He's always out there supporting all the events, especially on the west side.
Yep. And it'll be our first event for the Trichome Forge. We're going to have, like 9 different flavors to try, hopefully, of concentrate. I want to have some seeds there. I want to have probably about 3 different strains. So if anybody's interested in those. And I think that's all we're really going to have. We're not going to have, we were thinking about doing clones, but we don't really have anything big enough right now to do that.
Dude, it's gonna
What
be.
about some teens?
That's what we're bringing. Bringing the old teens with us. Truck full.
No, we
Ready to go.
power room, so like the veg room's kind of empty now.
Dude, let's see. To chat, if you are able to make it out, we're gonna have quite the encampment. I've spoken with the promoter. I'm not sure if any of you guys have reached out to him, but I basically,
Mhm.
gave
We've
him
confirmed
where
as of today, even.
I even sent him a little map with a little circle about where
Mhm.
we might be able to camp out. And so we're talking 40 feet if, Fergroli, the
Trichome Forge.
Forge and Spartan. And then we're actually doing a 10x10 for Rosemary's Oasis and and our Red Setter Farm booth. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 booths straight in a row. And then honestly, there's a handful of other friends and people involved that we might just gather up and get in this line. And I might even bring a couple extra 6-foot tables and just toss them out front in front of us, because that big open space, we could just toss our own sesh tables out there. You know what I mean? And just have a little sesh spot or whatever. And I'm gonna have a little sesh spot behind, and we're
Just
doing
bury the extension cord from the generator, just like a couple inches underground, and then have it pop up by the table, and we'll have the e-nail
a
going.
sledgehammer. We'll trench it out. I'll dig a trench.
There you go. I like the sound of that.
y'all seen the old footage back in the day with the old sledgehammer trenching.
So what's the deal now? We got to be there Thursday now. They're saying.
Yep. Oh, okay. So there's a
No.
check-in on Thursday. Vendors can get their Thursday check-in. You can also get their check-in Friday. Begins super early.
Yeah, same as it's always been. I believe the event starts at 12:30 on Friday. It's honestly usually kind of a slow start because 12:30 on a Friday, most people are not available to head out to the middle of nowhere, Morley, Michigan, on a Friday unless they've taken Friday off or have Friday
If you're
off. Or
just
come
checking
up.
in and you haven't even set up your booth or nothing, which would be the case for me and Baked.
Potentially, yeah. But I mean, Friday evening, it kind of picks up, and Friday night there's a lot of great, shows, like including Mendo Dope, of course.
But you
And
got
then Saturday, it's
before
pretty-
12, I assume. What time do you
Um,
check in? What time's the check-in?
I mean, probably ideally before 12, yeah. I don't know if there's like a set check-in time though on
Oh,
Friday. It's probably just like, get there as soon as you can get there.
I think that you can get there anytime and pop.
I do too.
And
And
so-
we'll have a spot for you, like
I might just get up there, early as I can, and he'll just maybe come back later if it's got to be early. I don't think he gets out of work till even noon. So
yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Just maybe hit up the promoter and let him know, and we'll have a spot for you saved.
yeah, we'll put you right in line with all of us and just
Mhm.
put a. I mean, all we got to do is put a table or something right there, and
Yeah.
Spray paint. I got neon orange spray paint.
I've
We'll just
got
put a Spartan logo on it.
sign. I'll just put a sign in the fucking ground. And
Yeah, dude.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean. And we'll just reserve the spot. And
well, I know I got to be there Friday anyway because I think that's when they're having the panel to talk, and
Mhm.
I have to be there for that anyway. So
Don't be late.
I'll
yeah,
put
it'd be better for me to get there early. Anyway.
sign. I'll flip my sign around. I'll write Trichome Forge on it for you.
There you go.
Be advertised. And then so we'll have our whole sesh little spot there. It'll be fucking sweet. See Organically Blunt in chat. Shout out Organically Blunt in his show, and he's gonna have a stash box full of stuff. Organically Blunt, come see us. We'll toss you something to put in that stash box as well. I think I'm gonna do a stash and dash for us. We're gonna be doing late night grilled cheese at the Rosemary's Oasis booth or our booth, one of the booths. We're just we're gonna have like both booths set up, and then just we're just there. So late night grilled cheese. We've got our pendants and stuff like that for Rosemary's Oasis. We're gonna still bring some more vegetable starts. We've got some stuff still available, but we're gonna bring like valerian, I think, as a medicinal one that we have. We have a few valerian left.
Nice.
So we have a handful of those. Whatever else we can kind of get up potted in time. Trying to focus more on cannabis, of course. Made bubble hash. I think I said that earlier from our outdoor. So that's no-till organic out of pretty much Rosemary's Oasis, but Rosemary's Oasis is an art booth. So we'll have that at the Red Setter Farm booth. But that's our no-till organic. It's all strawberries and cream. Literally all, single source for that one. And it's sticky, dude. Comparatively to the indoor strawberries and cream that I've washed, it is super sticky. Like it sticks to those bags. It doesn't like come up like the other stuff. It's kind of cool. Very, very different resin head, and it's all cured and looks really good. So I'm excited about that. We've got our normal lineup, Rainbow Driver, Grape Jelly, might have a tiny bit of Death Star with us, and maybe a tiny bit of Granddaddy Purple. But yeah, Grape Jelly's with us again this time, and strawberries and cream and GMO, and we'll smoke some good joints. Yeah, dude, I'm excited. I'm excited to hang out with everybody. I like the weekend events. It's been a lot of Third Eye Craft Affairs, which are day events, and I enjoy setting up the tent. I enjoy being able to like set up our store.
I enjoy renting the Airbnb.
Yeah, you do, man. It's dry and you can shower and hang out. in the cloud. I enjoy being able to like just kind of like be done working and just kind of like hang out right there and not have to do anything. You know, I pack up my belongings, put the weed stuff in the trailer, lock it up, and just fucking chill, hang out, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
It's gonna be fun.
it's gonna be fun. I enjoy a good camp out, and this will be Ruben's first time camping. Usually Eagle and that whole encampment shows up. Shout out to my Rustler, and I'm pretty sure Blue Kiss Gardens is going to be coming out. Shout out to her; she's listening.
That's in her neck of the woods for sure.
I think Blue Kiss is out at the DGC, so shout out to everybody out at the DGC as well. Can't forget everybody there. So, hopefully some people even from that far end of the state, Colorado, come out this way and come hang out this way.
That'd be awesome. There's a lot of people interested in that event, so I think he's done a good job of promoting it.
Well, let's see. History-wise, this will be our fourth Gems and Genetics. I love doing events at Sarnes Resort, man. My first event was right next to Fragoli. Super geeked about that, and I think I was sandwiched between Fragoli and MedGrower. So it's like. Protein fanboy. I was like,
I just saw that picture like a week ago, and I was like, oh yeah, that's those are the three of us are out there. Like,
yeah, that was awesome. And then
4 years ago,
Midnight Roots was on the other side. Really good people at Midnight Roots. Dan, promoter Dan, has a really good tendency of getting really good people that he works with, and his brother's on his team. And so just big shout out to all those guys. And then you know what? Of course, Third Eye Craft Affairs having an event on the 15th. Is it 15th?
Yeah, I believe it's the 15th.
We signed back up. I gotta get locked in with them on that. But we're doing as many Third Eye Craft Affairs as we can, however we're able. Whether or not it's Red Cider Farm or
is it still mobile, or is it back to Lansing?
It's back on the farm.
On the farm. Yeah. Due to unforeseen events and circumstances, the
farm's actually cooler. I'd rather have that. Like with Sarnes Resort, you have flat land, it's a wide open. I'd like that.
It's outdoor. This time of year, I like outdoor stuff. The weather is always
for sure.
Fortunately, most of the vendors outside do have canopies and pop-ups, and most of us tuck in a little bit so that you can shop in the shade or out of the rain and stuff like that, and products aren't getting drenched unless it's a really bad we got to just close up shop. There's also a big tent to just hang out.
Should I just share it? I just share it? All right.
What are you sharing, man? It depends on what you're sharing.
I don't know. What do we got? Is it those nudes I sent earlier? Because don't share.
Yep. Sorry, bro.
This is a great card, Julio.
You guys have audio?
Both of those white tents are sesh spots.
That's dope.
The big white tent has vendors, and the small white tent just has some tables, and you are encouraged to bring a chair just in case there are not enough. There are limited seating, of course. So bring yourself a fold-up chair or a stool or something. Look at that red tent right there. I wonder whose tent that is.
Big sesh tent on the left, vendor tent was the bigger one.
That's pretty cool.
It was a lot of fun, man. And so that is the Third Eye Craft Fair sesh spot. Shout out to everybody who is a part of the Third Eye Craft Fair. Shout out to that entire promotion team, the Booty Shaking Funk Committee, as they call it. And, look at that. That is Saline, Michigan. In Washtenaw County. Damn, I don't know.
I love
going on down the road. I just had to get a quick look.
I'm blowing up the spot. Should I not be talking about? I mean, he posts the address live. I mean, You just go to that tag.
All you did
And
was say the city.
that's what I mean. So I mean, whatever. I didn't give the address. I suppose you.
That's pretty
I guess
cool.
I'm giving more information by being descriptive. Okay.
No, that's in Washington County is good because we know that county is very pro cannabis.
Yes. You're talking Washtenaw County. They're also pro psychedelics, mushrooms, and plant entheogens are less than what is it? They're not decriminalized, but they're
Lowest priority, they say.
the lowest, less priority than anything else. So the prosecutor
Back on if you do something else, but if you're not doing anything else, they'll tend to leave you alone.
Yeah, including small businesses such and they can obviously make decisions on what they consider a small business. So mind your P's and Q's. But yeah, dude. So the community continues to show up. You can't stop a good thing from happening, and the craft affair, just the safe access event. In general, it's a good thing. There's people who have opinions about the way those events are ran. Some events are more like cups, and some events are more like sessions. Some people have opinions that they're all money grabs. Some promoters charge very, very astronomical fees and can be seen as that. Some cups to enter the cup charges astronomical fees and can be seen as that. So I totally understand where that animosity can come from. On the side of just knowing the promoter, I'm not a promoter, okay, but I have thrown a wedding in my backyard and had to order chairs and get logistics figured out and stuff like that. Stuff does cost money, and so I do see where for everybody's services, in this case there's two big ass tents. Like those tents, nobody owns, they don't own those tents. They're definitely renting those tents.
Let me give you a perfect example, bro. Let me give you a perfect example from that event and a situation and something in which might come up that you forgot, didn't plan for, or whatever as a promoter, which you got to act now and spend some money that you didn't plan on spending, right?
The cops show up. You got to pay them off.
You got to pay them off. There's
You got to pay the bribes. You forgot to pay the bribes. No. There's a DJ, right? There's the DJ at these events. They play music.
DJ gets paid.
These DJs always show up with their own, turntables, software, laptops, whatever it might be, speaker systems.
They're not paying to DJ.
No.
They're not paying to DJ.
Yeah, and
Dope's not paying to be at Gems and Genetics this weekend.
No, of course not.
Right. Okay, all right. Let's just make that clear.
Let's go on the other way for sure. Yeah. Wait, how many weddings have you paid to DJ? No,
I'm paying them all, baby. Let me get out there, man. I'm trying to get my feet in the.
I feel that. Build that portfolio. So in any case, the DJ is on their way. Great DJ, by the way. She's done quite a few of these events, and unfortunately, a generator was forgotten. And so a generator is needed in this type of setup for there to be power, for there to be music, right? And so a situation arose in which, sorry if this is too inside baseball to the promoter, but he had to send one of his team members to go to the local Home Depot or whatever, which wasn't that close. I mean, it's close, but not that close, right? Considering that what you just saw, and go rent a generator for the day. And that takes cash in hand to do that, or trusting someone with a card or something, right? And it had to happen now. So you got to get in the car, you got to go now, you got to hit that Home Depot, you got to get the generator here, the DJ's on the way, we have to have music, just simple things like that, right? Seems like a simple thing, but in the moment, that's a very stressful type situation for that promoter. And so that's just one of the many things that might have, might arise in which you got to drop, maybe a couple $100, just to keep the event vibe, quite frankly. Also, I want to shout out I hope we get this right, Ben's Island Grills, Ben's Island something, the food truck that was there. So hard up my alley, dude, in terms of the cuisine I love. Like it was all Hawaiian themed. So huli huli chicken, and there was a ahi poke, pokey, what is it? Pokey, ahi tuna, something, poke bowl, so whatever, Pokemon bowl, something like that. Not up my alley on that one, but and then they had a kava bar with all these like smoothies and juices, and there's mocktails and all this stuff, man. We supported them pretty heavily. Let's just put it that way.
There's always
the nachos
food trucks at Third Eye Craft Fair, dude. He gets some good food trucks, and that's the other thing, these are a lot of small Michigan businesses that are trying to earn a living. It's not a cash grab on everybody's end. These are small farmers, and in our case, Becca and I, like, we are literally farmers. This is what we do for a living. We are on the ground. Like, we don't have time to work a 9 to 5 to earn that type of living. We just don't have time. We're trying to nobly grow medicine and food for people, and that means that we have to do it cottage law style, or fake it till you make it, until we're able to get a FDA license or whatever we're able to do to grow food for people and do that. We're farmers, so you know what I mean? It's bottom line. I'm a wedding DJ. We do what we can to make money on the side. You know what I mean? We do whatever we can to provide service to the community, and to do it in an entrepreneurial type way. I've been doing this for almost a decade, and it's something that we're really good at. And so for us, it's being a small business. It's not putting chains around our neck. It's not like giving us a way to like flaunt cash and go on vacation. Like, we don't we can't take vacations. We're literally stuck around chickens. Our way of taking a vacation is going and seeing the community of Gems and Genetics.
It's called a work vacation.
A work vacation. We're literally going out to help support the farm, and it's kind of stressful to leave the house in the farm for 3-4 days. You know what I mean? And all that's going on around here, because we do have everything to feed. And it's really cool to get out and get to see people, so we prefer to do that. And to us, yeah, we have to work, but it's like so much different than, I guess, working for a job, somebody else, where we can come out, we get to visit the community, hang out, and we're putting this effort in on our own shoulders and on our own backs. And if we fuck up, it's like, I get to actually take accountability for myself and not push it on to anybody else. You know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of like hardships that I enjoy within this whole lifestyle. You know what it is? You know what I mean? For me, I worked 9 to 5s for decades, and I felt more hardship, I think, in that than I do now. And we're all different. Some people definitely do it the other way around, where they do have a 9 to 5 and they can grow some grass for themselves and their buddies, and they can freely give away weed and give away whatever they grow, but other people need to, in some sort of a way, what's the word? Remunerate. I can't, I'm never going to be able to say that word. Just kind of like, get back what you put into it, and then also like get a little cake up for your time that you put into what you're doing, and that so that you can actually survive. It's just, you need to purchase supplies, and you need to like donate to the community. My favorite thing to spend my money on is the smoothie shop down the road, because it's a locally owned person. You know what I mean? I love going to our grow store and spending money there because it's a local shop. There's a handful of these stores that I like spending my money at, and that's the people who support us, support them in turn. You know, this is local economy. You know what I mean?
Like Ben's Island Grinds, bro. Get some of them nachos.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what.
That kind of and like that's the thing, you know. And like when we have it, I love going up to as many vendors as I'm able to and just getting little knickknacks, a little something
Mhm.
there, you know, and trying to support everybody. Yeah, dude, it's that local economy, like the honey, for example. You know,
Right.
our neighbor, the other neighbor, they had a whole bunch of vegetables that were like not organic, and you know what I mean. And I know they're importing, so it's like I don't know they're importing, you know what I mean. But just some of the shit's
You
really
know they're not grown at all.
they're just out of season, even for greenhouse, you know what I mean. And it's like supposed to be in state. So like it's hard to say that they're not importing. It's hard to say that they are importing, you know what I mean? But just some stuff was just really early, and they just have to have some big greenhouses, which they might. They really might. I don't know anything about, you know, I know they're
Heated floors are a hell of a drug. Let me tell you what. I got one more question for you guys before you go. Are we doing like a bonfire? Are we having any sort of like small fire pit? I know this was an issue in the past with.
so there's no small fire pits for like
There's only a communal pit.
there's a community.
Oh, okay. We're just not allowed.
It's just not allowed.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
Yeah, you could always hit up the promoter and find out about the encampment fire pit that could be potentially.
But just so everybody knows, there may not be a show next week if we're still there.
Oh, we
Okay.
won't be there on
And
Sunday.
also-
We'll be back on Sunday.
Also,
We'll be back on Sunday.
those dates are slightly.
Confusing. Let's just
Yeah.
say it's a Friday, Saturday event.
It's a Friday
We'll see you
Saturday
guys then.
event. Yeah, that Sunday is listed as like a hangout type thing.
Take down.
Breakdown. Yeah, it's a breakdown day.
Breakdown day. That's, you know, the way he always explains it to me. But they it's listed for that reason. But yeah, and I'm guessing that that's just because they rent the resort for those 3 days, you know. But yeah, the vending portion of it, the hangout. Hey, we're gonna break down nice and slow. We have 2 fucking booths, which means we're also doing 2 campsites because we're bringing our Reuben. So we're oh man, I'm gonna be
It's gonna be a good time. I can't wait. We'll
all
see you all on Friday.
Yeah. See you guys on Friday.
Cheers,
and
guys.
good gems and genetics.
That's what I mean by Friday.
Oh yeah, Friday. Yeah, Friday.
And if we don't see you this weekend on Friday or Saturday, then we'll see you on Sunday.
Sunday.